Hello and welcome to another episode of the Hold Up TV, the content creation show about content creators and the creatives that bring you the music, art that you love. I am blessed to be joined today by one of the greatest to ever do it, a legend in hip hop, my man RA. How are you doing, brother?
Everything's okay. Everything's good. A little tech issues. I'm in Germany. Where are you at?
I'm in New York. I'm in upstate New York right now.
Upstate New York. All
Yes.
right. How do you know Amy?
It's funny. Like most New Yorkers, we met in California, right? And we met in California at a social gathering. And crazy thing about it was, I did not know who the man was when I first met him. You know what I'm saying? Like I was just like, oh, it's another New Yorker. We gravitated to each other. You know, he started making fun of me. I obviously had to make fun of him because he's from Staten Island. But I don't hold that type of stuff against anyone. You know, you can't help where you're born. But we clicked instantly from that point. You know, he is obviously one of the strangest people that's ever walked this earth. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I love Strange. He's a funny dude.
Wow, you know him pretty well then. Huh?
Yeah, it's pretty funny, man. But yeah, we started hanging out with each other in LA, man, and he became one of my closest friends rather quickly. How'd you cats meet?
His DJ from back when he had the hit record out back when he was a kid.
Yeah.
His DJ was DJ Uvex. And Uvex said, "You ever heard of Eamon? He got the #1 song out right now." I said, "Nah, I don't really know that stuff too well." And then Uvex brought me to a party. Eamon was there. And then I went to Long Island, and my little sister was probably 11, and she had Eamon's poster on the wall at the time, or maybe she was 12. So I was like, "Yo, I was just with that guy, you know." So
this is about you, my brother, man. First, let me get the fan stuff out of the way. I've been playing it cool up until the interview, right? Eamon was like, yo, he's going to come on. He's going to do the show. And I felt extremely blessed, man. But I got to tell you, man, you've been one of my favorites. And to be sitting here talking to you, man, it's a true blessing. Let's get started by telling the people who you are, man. What is it, for anyone that's been living under the rock for the past 2 decades or so, who are you, my brother? And what is it that you do?
I'm a rap artist. I've been rapping since I was an 11-year-old kid back in the day. And I came out from Long Island, and a lot of the older guys in the neighborhood, you know, older meaning 16, 17, 18, 19.
Yeah.
You know, there was all this great hip hop coming out. EPMD was from Brentwood, up, you know, a couple of towns over. And Biz Markie was over in Central Islip with his little brother Diamond Shell. And JVC Force had Strong Island. And you know, obviously Rakim and the Gods and Public Enemy and Busta and them started coming out after them. And, you know, so I was young and seeing rap music was coming out of the same island I was from. And I was in a lot of the same studios, like, yo, these people are all making records. They're famous. And I'm young. I'm, oh, they're rich, you know. But I didn't know they wasn't rich, you know, a lot of them. But, yeah, so I was a young kid rapping in the neighborhood, and then continued for decades and decades. And a lot of trials and tribulations and ups and downs, and you know, all these decades later, my last album was the most successful one yet, and you know, when you know, charted all over the planet, and you know, getting, you know, tens of millions of listens, you know, 100 million listens off this new album so far, probably more. Probably way more, actually, if you put all the streams together. I don't know how to do all that count and stream shit, but a lot of people have been listening to it worldwide. The only issue right now is we can't tour. We can't tour so much. I just picked up my first tour since the album dropped, and it's basically like the states in the U.S. that let people do shows, like Florida, right, Texas, Ohio, Alabama. So that's my first U.S. tour since my album dropped. I'm hoping the rest of the world opens up soon, you know.
Yeah, nah, it's funny that you say that, man.
It's
funny that you say that, man, because you are a touring man. Actually, it's a shout out to that cat Mers that made a song about that. You say you got started early on. Your first record deal was with Jive Records, right? Was that the very first record deal?
What's the first one I signed? Yeah, it was the first one I signed. But I as a teenager, I was picking up tons of deals. You know, everybody wanted to sign me as a kid. They was like, I don't know. There wasn't a lot of kids the white kids that could fuck with everybody. Like I would go into house parties and fuck up people and rap, and I'd go into the studio and rap and so all the rappers would be in the studio, all rappers with deals and fan bases, and I'd come in and obliterate mad people, and so I started just getting a big buzz, and so record deals just kept coming. Oh, we need them, because the record deals would get interested once they'd see that other people were interested. Oh, the MCs love him. Oh, the producers love him. Oh, he must be cool because everybody likes him,
Right.
So then, it's like, they follow the trend or follow whatever. So, I got lucky. All the hip hop artists were all fucking with me heavy, and the producers, all the legendary producers. So, I just started picking up deal after deal as a teenager, and by the time I'm I was doing very good as a teenager. So I decided to sign to Jive after a big 9 record label bidding war.
Okay.
And that's when all the craziness happened. And Eamon will tell you about Jive. We were both Jive recording artists. We're not real big fans of the label.
Yeah. It's funny, man, because in today's climate, in regards to music and the way the record industry works, like whenever I talk to someone, it's different, right? You guys came up in a time where it was basically like people were still able to make money hand over fist, but the artist representation wasn't there, the integrity wasn't there. Anything about that era you miss? Like, do you miss those old shady record execs coming in and just kind of dropping stuff in front of you, or are you just happy with the way business is done now, man?
No, I don't miss record execs. I don't miss the thing with record execs. It was like your artwork and your art or your music, whatever the hell you did. It's the same as, the entertainment industry with film or whatever. It's like, if they're putting up the money,
right,
they might not know what the fuck to do artistically. They're not artistic minded. They're money minded, unless you have a really incredible A&R person, which was very slim. But if you had like a really dope A&R with a dope ear, with dope connections to beats, and, had everybody and knew what was hot and knew how to make a dope joint, then you were blessed. But having an A&R person like that was slim to none in the game. You had guys like Puffy, which I know he was corny as a rapper,
right?
But as an A&R, he brought Biggie into Uptown, and he knew the people who had dope beats and there was guys like that, and I'm not saying just Puffy. I'm just naming him because he's one of the famous guys that. But mostly you'd get these like 50-year-old guys that came from rock music that would get, elevated up to the black music department, and you'd be like, well, what the fuck do you know? What do you mean lower the kick? What do you mean, take the bass line down? I don't want to. There's a rap song. I'm not taking the bass line down, motherfucker. We'll spin the bass line up, like. No, I'm not making a sample, cleaner for you. I'm going to keep it dusty for this particular track. They're not. That's not what they do.
Right.
So, that's what was, tough. So you're trying to make these people that don't know nothing about making music happy with your music. So you have to like fuck your music up for them, so they can feel like they're part of the project.
Right.
Where in the new age, you go in the studio, you know what's dope. You get all your musical minds around you. You get the musicians with you. You get the engineers you respect, and you could all work together to make this really dope piece of music.
Right.
And no money guy coming in acting like he wants to dictate the whole project and knows nothing about what he's talking about. So. No, I don't miss those guys at all. That's a long answer for a fucking simple question.
No, that's the perfect answer, man, because it's interesting, man. Like I'll say this for you and your credit, right? Like for what you've been able to accomplish in music, man, for where you were and from that era to where we are now into touring and everything like that. I think that's the appropriate answer. I watched an interesting documentary with Run DMC, and they were talking about that exact same thing. They were like, you got to understand, in the early days, it was all rock guys, and they didn't know how to really deal with this. And this segment of it, they were expressing their gratitude to be able to find someone like Rick Rubin, right? And they were like, it was rare that you could find someone to come in and just kind of get where you were as an artist. That first album, though, man.
Yeah, but even take Rick Rubin, though.
Right.
And Rick Rubin was still a rock guy.
Very
but
true.
He did help with some of these legendary records, you know, but Jazzy J was before him and Larry Smith was before him. But Rick Rubin, I'm not taking that. He's a great, one of the great guys in the game. But I think in hip hop, I'm no disrespect, but I think in hip hop he's a little rated higher than some guys that you know, did a lot more musically for hip hop. Like I'll even take, you know, like a guy like Havoc from Mobb Deep or a Diamond D. I think they were authentic as fuck hip hop.
Right.
And Rick Rubin was dope and made some of the great records. I'm not saying he, you know, but like stuff that he did, like I'm a huge LL Cool J fan. He did some great LL Cool J fans, but then when they were doing like the Going Back to Cali joints and these kind of joints that were like, that's wasn't as hip hop as something that was more, you know, if you look at some of the, you know, Rick Rubin is a great and made some of the great records. Not even taking that away, but I just think sometimes he gets mentioned a lot more than other producers who have dominated and lived for hip hop. Where Rick Rubin was one of those rock guys. His dream was to go and do records with who did he do? Metallica or Slayer and Johnny Cash and
Beastie Boys.
He wanted to get more into the rock and country world, where, you know, a lot of kids that grew up on hip hop wanted to do hip hop, and that's what they really was proud of. And Rick's proud of his hip hop too. But I don't know why I went into that. I don't know why I went into my I love Rick.
Since we're talking about it, who were some of the producers like early on in your career? Was there anyone that stepped in and you were just like, man, I can't believe I'm working with this person. It's an honor to work with this person. Is anyone like that for you, like early on, man, or even to this date?
Well, yeah, because Erick Sermon, when I was about 12, 13, I forgot what year it was, but they had just started blowing up. And locally, you know, my boy Cap, who produced Stanley Kubrick for me and produced some songs on the new album. And Cap was Capital of Crime Lord, and he also rapped on Biz Markie and Diamond Shell's album. He was like a couple years older than me, but he was Puerto Rican and Italian, but he was a white boy. He looked like a white boy. So he was the best white rapper in town. And he knew all of these guys before me. He knew Biz. He knew, you know, Erick Sermon. He knew his uncle was his cousin was Charlie Murata. So all these great producers were in the neighborhood. And then Erick Sermon, Cap used to make fun of me. I was like 13, 14. I forgot how old. I walked in school with an EPMD hat on. I didn't know any of these guys yet, you know. I had the EPMD hat on. And he's like, yo, where'd you get that EPMD hat? Cap said, because he knew EPMD. He was there when they were mixing the records with Charlie. And I said, oh, I made it. And he said, yo, I had the iron-on letters falling off and shit. He was like, damn, this kid came to my school. He's making his own EPMD. Who the fuck is this kid? You know, but then Cap started bringing me to the studios, and Erick would be there. These guys would all be. I'd be 14, 15, and, you know, take me to Biz Markie's house. So I guess that was the first one when you know, started being the presence of all these guys from my neighborhood. You know, Craig Mack had a big song out before Flavor in Your Ear. It was called Get Retarded. And Diamond J produced it. And he was in the neighborhood. You know, Craig would be around, and Cap was friends with Craig Mack. And oh shit, that's Craig Mack. His name wasn't Craig Mack at the time. His name was MC Troop and DJ MC Easy and Troop. And I was, oh, that's MC Easy. Oh shit, you know. There was a guy in the neighborhood called Too Nice, Glenn Gibbs. They had a deal on Arista. They had a song called "I'm Gonna Get You Sucker" soundtrack.
Oh my goodness.
And I was in the studio with him a lot. And we were like, he lost his deal, and I was young, a teenager, trying to get my deal, and we were going back and forth, taking demo tapes versus each other. Yeah, that's, I guess, stuff like that. Those were the guys that I was like, wow, I'm working with all these guys from the neighborhood that I saw on TV. You know, and now all of a sudden they're sitting in the room with me. I didn't realize that a lot of them was struggling. You know, I thought that, you know, Glenn was on Club MTV with Julie Brown and doing his new single. And I'm like, he's rich. I'm thinking he's rich. He's on Arista. But nah, they were struggling. Everybody was struggling. But my favorite producer as a child, my two favorite producers was Marley and Teddy, you know. So I was a huge Teddy fan, Teddy Riley. Guy's first album is classic. My all-time favorite album of all time. And Marley, if I name my top 20 hip hop beats of all time, I bet you half of them would be Marley, if not more. You know, Marley's my favorite producer of all time, the records he was involved with. Even if though some people say, oh, he, you know, Kane brought the sample for this one or so-and-so produced, brought this, but Marley put it through the boards and made it pop and had the ear for what worked at the time and was doing things that nobody else was doing at the time, you know? So.
No, that's, man, you just took me down a trip down the lane. Let me ask you a question. Where were you the first time you heard EPMD's The Crossover? Because I remember where I was, man. I was like literally walking home from school and I met a homie of mine at Central Park. And he was like, yo, have you heard this track yet? And I'm like, nah, haven't heard it. Have not heard it. And he was like, you got to listen to it. And you know how it used to be back in the day, like you can't mess with the tape too much, right? Like he had rewound it a bunch that day and he was like, he's like, yo, listen to this, D. He's like, you need to listen to this song. And I remember when I put it in my Walkman and I heard that first opening for The Crossover, I was convinced at the time that EPMD had somehow jumped into the future and brought us beats from the future back. I was like, yo, this is the most advanced stuff I've ever heard.
Erick and Paris, they were both nice on beats. Erick is a mastermind. Erick is another one. Like when we talk about Rick Rubin, Erick's sermon is light years ahead. Like Erick is one of the greatest that ever lived when he was in his prime. But and all the West Coast beat production, so much of that comes from what EPMD did first, and also Bomb Squad. A lot of that comes from Long Island. But the first time I heard Crossover, you know, it wasn't as exciting for me. Okay. I loved it. I thought it was dope. But what was more exciting for me was before EPMD had a face. It was like you would turn on the Rap Attack or Hot 90, not Hot 90, 98.7 KISS or WBLS, and they play rap songs. So one time I hit record and there was a piece of You a Customer was on. And I was like, yo, who the fuck is I didn't know what they looked like. I didn't know them personally. Right. And they was from Brentwood, Long Island. And it was the most banging record, like holy shit! And no, it's my thing, you know, doom, 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 doom. Like they had these records, so I would have them on cassette tapes, and it was like this sound that I never heard before. So that's when I really got excited. Mm-hmm. But then, you know, they had all those, you know, don't get too cool because you might get shot. You know, I shot the sheriff, Strictly Business. They had so many classics on that first album, and then the second one had the Big Payback, you know, the Big Payback. Yes. And then, so What You Saying, which is one of the greatest rap songs of all time, was on his second album. Right. So now they already was selling gold right off the bat. The whole world seen them. We saw all their videos. Oh, even the You Got to Chill video, you know, from the first album that came on Video Music Box. I was like, that's what they look like. Oh my God, I forgot about Video Music Box. And it was like the most exciting feeling. Yeah, so it was the most exciting feeling. Like, yo, that's what they look like. That's them, you know. So that's why when I got to meet them in person, I was like, yo, you know, like I was putting all the puzzle pieces together. That was the exciting part of hip hop for me. Was taping stuff off the radio and not knowing what the face looked like, then finding out the face and finding out more information. So by the time Crossover dropped, I knew everything. You know, I had met EPMD. I knew everything about EPMD. I had their albums back and forth. There was no mystery to it. And it's like, oh, this is their new single. Dope. So I thought it was dope. And I was like, wow, they killed it, you know, but I already knew everything that they could do and knew how great they were. So it was cool. But so what you're saying to me, still bumped harder than Crossover, even though I love Crossover. You know?
No, it's crazy because let me talk about you for a second here, right? Thinking about that, the reason I brought up Crossover specifically because that was one of the songs, and it was funny they called it the Crossover because I started noticing new fans were coming their way. I want to talk to you about the first album, man, and can you tell me what that was like dropping that first album for yourself, brother? Like that creative process coming together. What was that like seeing that whole thing manifest, bro?
Well, here's the thing is it wasn't that exciting for me because I did an album for Jive and I worked a year and a half on it. And then, you know, we went through this whole experience with, you know, I was just blackballed and beat up and I was acting wild in the label and the label was scared of me. And they said, you know, you can't come in the label no more. So it wasn't an artistic thing. It was me being a wild man and the label was scared of me. And if they'd come in with creative input, I'd shut them down and scream at them and act like a fucking animal. So the first album that was, this was my dream to put out my first, and it never got the official release at the time. And then the second album, we went to Priority, and then Priority got bought out by Capitol, and the guy that signed the deal at Priority, there was all this drama and craziness. So I had 2 albums that I worked very hard on, but the one that I put out, I really didn't even, the first album, I didn't even want it to be an album because I knew I didn't have the promotion for it. Mm-hmm. I didn't even have the money to go in there. I think I made the whole album for like $3,500. I didn't have the money to go in there and spend time on it and do what I want to do. But sometimes that's what the best art comes out of. And I'm not saying this is the best art. I think the next albums I did, the right. 4th and 5th one, but the Die Rugged Man Die album, there's so much I wish I would have did different on it because I didn't have the tools. You had to go to studio, write, mix, record, come up with the idea, drop it, and put it out, because right. I had no money to play. The other albums, you could hear a quality difference in the later albums because I was touring nonstop. I was able to just sit in the studio and work on the songs and make albums that I was fucking proud of, that where almost every moment of the album is something that I'm pleased with sonically and lyrically and flow wise. I had live instrumentation come in. If the bass wasn't right, I'd have somebody come play the bass. If the drama wasn't right, I'd have people come in and play pianos. Where the third album, which is the first one that dropped commercially, I felt like it was just an underground kind of. Just some songs. It felt like songs to me. It didn't feel like an album. It felt like some dope songs on an album. And that's what an album is to some people. But to me, I just like to just create it a little bigger. And I think, you could hear in the last 2 records I put out that I had a lot of time and freedom and to deliver my vision the way I wanted to. So
was that the whole I hate to do this, man, but it's always a part of the interview process. Was that the whole issue with that first album? Were they trying to take creative control or putting in unnecessary input in where it wasn't warranted, or was it just what was going on there? Like what was the whole drama with those cats?
Oh, you talking about the Jive album?
Yeah, the Jive album.
Are you talking about the Jive album?
Yes, sir.
Well, no, yeah. I had a 9 record deal, been more like I had said. So they were giving me creative freedom, but then you thought you were getting creative freedom, but then they'd take these songs that you didn't like and say, these are the hit singles and these are that, and work on this and do this. And they'd come in and try to, and then like, oh, we have this idea to commercialize this, and they had all these commercial ideas that weren't commercial, and then they had all these marketing ideas that were like kind of gimmicky, and it was more the marketing that was gimmicky, and the music was kind of victim to that, and
right.
And plus I was a kid, so the first album, if it came out then, people would have, it is what it is. It's not my favorite record. I loved it at the time, and now I listen back, and And also the only way to hear it is like there's these really muddy, shitty, horrible versions online that people download, and it sounds like fucking, it was, because it's a copy of a copy, and it sounds like it was mixed out of fucking pillowcases. So I'm not a huge fan of any of that shit. Like I said, the last 2 albums are what I love, and I love tons of, I have hundreds of songs historically. I put out tons of music. I put out tons of collaborations, tons of singles. I have hundreds of songs, released. It's just the business side was never really my, what's it called? I wasn't really good with the business side of things, So if I was better business wise, I could have worked strictly on the creative side, but I have to produce, direct, edit all the videos. I have to, do the whole campaigns, and there's so much work for me for putting out anything. It's like, it's just, beats me over the fucking head, I just want to be the artist,
What was the first, let me ask you a question, because I feel like I might know this, but fans are always wrong. We don't know anything. What do you think was the first time you felt like, I've got creative control over this project, even if it was an album? What was the first situation where you're like, yeah, I'm doing it the way I want to do it? I thought it was the sound bombing stuff, but I would love
no, sound bombing. I wasn't happy with that either.
Oh, wow.
The first record that I was like, yeah, fuck them all. They're not changing a kick or snare. They're not changing a fucking word. Was there was a producer that was unknown, and he used to roll with Lord Finesse. And then all of a sudden, he wanted to make beats himself. He wasn't a producer yet. He was just a dude that used to roll with Finesse and hang out. And then all of a sudden, he wanted to be a producer. So he called me up. He said, I got a couple beat tapes. I said, yeah, sure, send it to me. Or I'll see you. Give it to me. Give me a beat tape. It was and it was Buck Wild.
Oh, wow.
And Buck Wild, yeah, so Buck was making beats for like six months. And I met him at the Trackmasters. I met him with the Trackmasters before they blew up, and with Biggie before he blew up, and Akinyele. We was all at Chung King, and that's how I met Buck. And Finesse came in and was like, "Oh, you want to be a producer now, Buck?" And was flicking him on the ear, kidding around, teasing him. They love each other. So me and Buck stayed cool. Buck was like, "Yo, you're fucking nice. You're incredible." And Easy LP was part of Buck's crew, and he started making beats. And Easy LP ended up doing Get Money, Fuck Bitches, Get Money for Biggie and Junior Mafia, and Blood Money for Capone and Noriega. They were all just starting to make beats. Right. But yeah, there was a Buck Wild. He gave me a beat CD of like hardcore beats. You know, he started after this. He did like Big L Lifestyles of you know, he did Big L's album, and Buck started doing all that. He did Time's Up around his time or a little later for one of the best records of all time, OC, Time's Up. And he gave me a beat CD, and I put in the other side with him in the studio, and he's like, "Oh no, that's the R&B side or whatever." And it was the Every Record Label Sucks Dick beat. I said, "Nah, that's the one. That's the one." He's like, "Nah, I got the more wild shit on the other side." I said, "Nah, that's the one." So Every Record Label Sucks Dick beat. I got that from Buck Wild. Went in the studio and I made the song Every Record Label Sucks Dick. And I knew I said, yeah, this is me. This is 100% me. We mixed it. We bootlegged it. We bootlegged it ourselves. You know, that record blew up on the underground. They were playing it on all the big shows. You know, every big mixtape show was on all the mixtapes. Every Record Label Sucks Dick, and we leaked it purposely, acting like they found some hot shit. You know how the street does. And Every Record Label Sucks Dick was the first record that I felt, not ever, but after I signed, that was the first record that I felt like, we got that, you know. So
no, it's absolutely nuts. Can I just tell you something? Most people would not know the names that you just mentioned in today's current climate with hip hop, man. It's like you basically just gave the listening audience a crash course in the era and producers that a lot of people aren't checking for anymore. In fact, I brought up Big L to someone one day just talking about artists, and the person looked at me like I had said something in French. So I'm like, Big L, he's from Harlem. Do you know who I'm talking about? But your name manages to stay out of that type of stuff. Did you know that you are a patron saint for the remnant of us backpack hip hoppers that still wanted to surf with our kids in the mall? Like, did you know that? Did you know that you're like the backpack hip hopper? Like, you're one of the greatest to ever do it. You ever think about that time and that time period? Like, man, even though we didn't have the internet the way that we have it now, people were just using LimeWire, bootlegging the shit out of everyone's stuff. But you ever think back to those days and go, we got to be a part of something special, an era of music where you had to really work hard to come up with your next track?
Yeah, but LimeWire didn't exist yet. I didn't even know what the fuck that was. That was past my time. Like, that's old school to you. I'm like, LimeWire? What was that? Fuck yeah, it was that. You know what started popping off a little bit in the early 90s was bootleggers. You know, when all the rappers started making songs, I was bootleg my record, bootleg. The internet wasn't bootlegging shit yet. It was the guy on the block, with the tape. Like, hey, I got the album before it came out, or the other thing was if there was a label, a record that people were looking forward to, if a mixtape DJ got a song off of it unreleased and put it on their tape, then there would be beef in the streets. That was a different time, but yeah. But also, you say people don't remember the names I'm saying, but you take somebody like people from that era, people still talk about Tupac and Easy Mo B, who did a, you know, Flavor in Your Ear and Warning for Biggie and you know, Woo Ha for Busta, and he's a legend, you know. Stuff for Kane. He was doing Rapping is Fundamental before that. Worked on Jizz's Cold Chillin' album. I think he did like 5 tracks. But Mo B's a legend, and he's the only producer that worked with Biggie and Tupac, and not dead Tupac or Biggie, like the living alive. You know, he was doing stuff like that. So as far, they might not know the names, you know, like a new kid might not know the names, but if you said this is the man that worked with Biggie and Tupac, you know, and everybody, I think they would know that. Or Lord Finesse, you know, he you know, Dr. Dre is considered one of the best producers of all time to so many people, but you know, what was it? Chronic. There was Lord Finesse doing beats on the Chronic. Like he was sneaking his way in so many different, you know, the departments as a great beat maker behind closed doors. People might not know, but these guys all they're celebrated in the world that they come from. But I guess like a 15-year-old person. But hey, you just brought up Big L, which is considered by so many, you know, the greatest or one of the greatest. What do you think about there's the whole controversy with the young kid now, Little Nas X. He did the pole dance to Satan.
So here's the crazy thing, man.
But and everyone's he's satanic. But Big L, we were talking about Big L. Big L, you know, used to say some fucked up, crazy shit. Like I used to say crazy shit.
Yeah.
Well, people used to be like, Big L's the craziest. He had Satan lyrics. He had every type of lyric, but he wasn't pole dancing, you know, and giving lap dances to Satan. You know, he didn't do that. He didn't go that far with it.
Yeah, but here's the crazy thing about that though, man. Because I was going to ask you this question later on, but since we got there now, so you came up in a time of hip hop where artistry was allowed, right? People were allowed to express their minds. You're putting thought to paper, and you're going in there, and you're getting that work. How do you feel about the current climate now as a hip hop artist, where it's like it could be dangerous to speak your mind? You know what I'm saying? It could be extremely dangerous to say, you know, this is what I think, and I stand by this statement. With everything that's going on with cancel culture, these type of things.
That used to be a good thing. That used to be a good thing.
Right.
To say something dangerous that you're not supposed to say because you feel it. That's what made legends. You know that you know, most of the greatest heroes of all time said what the fuck they felt, and they were, you know, people went against them. Muhammad Ali, fuck yeah, you know, imagine Muhammad Ali, if there was a Twitter for all the fucking rednecks back then, it'd be like, oh, cancel, take his endorsements. He would have been, Muhammad Ali would have been canceled 500 times over, you 100%. Know? But the thing with cancel culture now is that they're fucking up everything because they're not adult enough to have conversation. It's like, shut it down, cancel. And it's like, yo, like, let people have their own points of view and let people speak, you know? And I've seen it happening where they made a big deal because Berkeley was a college that fought for free speech in the 60s. It was a big deal. But then when you know, the whole right wing and things started happening, they started having these big protests to not let these right wingers speak. The gay right wing guy Milo Yiannopoulos or whatever. They say, oh, he can't speak there because he's hate speech. Okay, cool. So a lot of people agreed with it because it's somebody who says a lot of shit that we don't like, right?
Right.
But then now they had the college. Oh, what college was it? Just last week, Angela Davis, you know, the revolutionist, you know, Black Power, legendary, you know, leftist, and the college just shut down Angela Davis. She can't have her speaking engagement. So it's like, you know, you go extra right, you go extra left, and now, so who the fuck is allowed to speak? Just somebody that's in the middle that says, you know what I mean? Like, I think you need to let all voices be heard, even if they're fucking horror stories or if they're not. But that's you know, and I always said, I said, look, if you don't let this asshole speak, they're gonna take it away from this guy or this girl or this person whose voice needs to be heard. I think conversations should be allowed to be debated, and if somebody has a terrible opinion, let them speak their fucking terrible opinion and let others speak against it and say, hey, listen, I disagree with that because of this. Let the conversations happen. And I even look at old talk shows where, like, you know, from the 70s and 60s and 70s and 80s, and Dick Cavett, he would have like, a super right wing politician on his television show, and then he'd have Jim Brown, who at the time was, super pro black, he was a hero,
Right.
And he's sitting right next to him, and he would shut down all this guy's talking points.
Right.
Oh yeah, here's this. This is how I feel as a black man. Boom, 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 boom. And the conversation would happen. He'd shut the guy down. And anybody with a little bit of brains in their head knows, wait, Jim Brown was the one in that conversation that made sense. And this guy's a fucking bigot and an idiot, and nobody should take him serious. So that's how you close conversations. When you take the speech away, you empower that person you're taking the speech away from, because the people that aren't their detractors go, oh, see, they're talking the truth, so they have to hide their truth. It's not about the truth. It's not. It's not. Their opinion isn't a good opinion because they're being fucking shut down. But then they get to believe that because you didn't even let. It's like a fantasy boxing match. Like you could have a shitty boxer and a really good boxer, and if they don't fight, you could have that argument that the shitty boxer would have won. They protected him because that shitty boxer would have kicked his ass. No, let the two of them have their way and see how shitty the shitty boxer was. It's like,
but I think it's
cutting out Angela Davis.
It's unfair though in regards to hip hop.
What they're doing now?
No, what's going on?
You see what they're doing now is the guy ran over the cop at the Capitol, supposedly. You see what's going on?
Yeah.
And now, I'm seeing so many of the headlines are like, oh, and he's a member of the Nation of Islam, and the Nation of Islam guy, the Nation of Islam, Nation of Islam, Nation of Islam, he's Farrakhan, Nation of Islam. And it's like, yo, you're fear-mongering right now. That's the same shit when they go, the Muslims did it, or this did it, or the Jews did it, or this. It's the same shit you're doing. And everybody that's affiliated is saying, who said he was a member of the Nation of Islam? So they're going to his Facebook posts and seeing like, oh, he supported a lot of the views of the Nation of Islam. So this happened.
Right.
And it's like, yo, you people are fucking idiots. Like guilt by association to somebody. And I've seen, I'm not the originator of this thought, but I've seen this online, from people saying like, listen, a few years back, we did the Million Man March headed by Farrakhan. 1 million men going to, there wasn't nobody running over. So why?
I remember that.
Did the Nation of Islam? Why weren't they responsible for the positive thing? And nobody did no violent actions. It was love and peace and the gathering. But now this one idiot on Facebook said, oh, I quoted some Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam, and now the Nation of Islam is responsible for this guy. It's like a CIA tactic. It's what they do. They throw their little fear-mongering smears on shit, and then people follow it and repeat it and repeat. And with social media, it's on steroids now. So the CIA has like all this, they know how stupid people are. So they throw the little talking point out.
Right.
CIA orchestrated, and it becomes fact. And they have the tools to just, spread the word through these fucking people. Because the people are stupid, and the CIA knows that,
And they drive the narrative. Do you feel like that puts like handcuffs on you a little bit as an artist nowadays? Like, are you just like, I'm going in no matter what they say? Like, I got it. I'm going to say what needs to be said on my tracks. I'm making the music. How do you approach those type of situations?
Yeah, I do what I want to do. And the thing is, if they cancel me, what the fuck am I going to do with life? Like I got my kids, I got my family, I got my health at the moment. Right. I'm not going to be here forever. We'll all be dead soon. So if they all of a sudden say, oh, Ari's gone, fuck you, I'm gone, and suck a dick. And I'll do what I do for who the fuck wants me to do it, Right. But the smear campaigns are real. They could smear you, they could smear anyone they want, because everybody historically has said something or done something or had a relationship with somebody that like they could take a narrative. Like, think about it. If you had an ex-girlfriend that was like, he yelled at me once, they could go like, oh, abuse, everybody, or that girlfriend you had that fucking bit you on the leg and had blood coming out, and you're like, oh shit, you could have someone go online and go like, she was assaulting and abusive, well, you shouldn't be biting people on the leg, but things like that had happened,
right?
Like shit. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, I see the way they work, and a lot of times it is political.
Right.
A lot of times they take out some people that aren't good people. That's good, right?
Right.
But sometimes they'll go, oh, we disagree with this particular person's point of view, so let's smear it. And it's always been a tactic. It's always like look at Martin Luther King when the feds sent him the letter saying, "Hey, we know that you were with other women and you need to kill." They sent him a suicide letter. Like Martin Luther King, kill yourself, or we're going to expose who you are.
Yeah.
And then the smears begin, and all these smears begin, coming out, and boom, boom, or kill yourself. So they've been doing it forever. You go to what was the thing a couple of years back? Oh, Jesus. But they were having infiltrators from the feds, right? In there with the people while the protests were happening. And it was documented. It wasn't no conspiracy shit. And they're acting like, hey, we're one of the guys, and that's been happening for decade after decade after. There's infiltrators from the feds, the CIA, and then the NSA spying on us right now. The NSA watching everything everybody's doing, reading emails. And back in the day, they thought, that's conspiracy. But no, then it came out, Edward Snowden revealed that, no, they watch everything you do, say they got access to all your emails, your phone call, but all of that shit. They're watching all Americans. And then people that are idiots say, well, it's not a big deal because I have nothing to hide. There are people out there that don't want you to know their personal information. Maybe you don't care. But what about when that camera, they had smart TVs, which is documented as well, that could watch the fucking people in their house.
Yeah.
The CIA, Vault 7, the people watching in their house. Oh, I have nothing to hide. So you want the fucking camera in your house while you're making love to your wife on the couch? You want the fucking TV watching you?
Yeah, but you're making a decision. You're making a decision for someone else too. Me and Eamon, this was one of our first conversations where it's like, and he's the one that hit me to this. He was like, do you know about any of this stuff? I'm like, and I was that guy. I'm like, I don't care. What do I have to hide? I'm just some loser that's just walking around. They want to follow me. No big deal. But then it dawned on me after a conversation. I'm like, yeah, every time I say that, I do make a decision for someone else. I do make a decision that takes away the ability for someone else to say, I don't want to be monitored. I don't want my life infiltrated. Yeah, exactly. I don't want to be trackable.
Well, exactly. And you have 3 children now.
Yeah.
So there was cases where cameras were on and children were dressing, teenage girl was dressing or whatever. Like, you want your kids to be unsafe. Maybe the government's watching them through their fucking laptop and shit. That sounds like paranoia, because why would they go after your child? But if you're another parent who is suspected of something or whatever the fuck why they have all this tracking information on everybody and watching people, maybe they won't watch your daughter, maybe.
Right.
But if something comes out and they feel like they have to listen and listen to your conversations and this and that, they have access to that. And, your kids are doing whatever they do. They're teenagers,
right.
Boom, boom, boom. And they got access to that too. So maybe you don't want to, but what about your children? Do you want your kids to be safe from being watched and heard and all of that stuff? Yes, you do. You don't want that.
No, absolutely. It's funny, man, because you brought up the Lil Nas X situation. And when I think back, we're talking about like Big L and even early 90s era hip hop. You remember Onyx? You remember, like, long before there was an Immortal Technique, Onyx probably made one of the darkest songs I had ever heard. I can't remember the name of the track, which is basically about 2 stick-up kids, and they turned on each other. They were brothers, and then they turned on each other. Darkest thing I've ever heard. The Lil Nas X.
I remember the record, and I can't remember the song. I feel like a dick. Yeah.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, you follow. This was probably for me
storytelling thing, and the one that I don't remember though.
This was like one of their marquee songs. I look at the Lil Nas X situation, and I feel as if, though, personally, art should be judged by a different criteria, or hip-hop at least should be judged by, is it garbage or is it dope, right? I don't care what he's saying that's shocking. Is it dope? I don't agree with the track, but I defend his right to be able to make the track.
1000%. That's the problem. Yes. Lil Nas, see, and here's the thing, too, is they act like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. They act like this is the newest thing that ever happened. Like fucking Boy George wasn't in the, they're like, this wouldn't happen in the 80s. I'm like, the 80s had fucking Boy George. The 80s had, the 70s had Queen, David fucking Bowie. Disco era came in 1980, 1970. The Village People, the construction workers, they're acting like homosexuality in music is something that's just brand fucking new to the world.
Right.
And you know, so I felt like when Macklemore was doing it, he was this straight white guy and he was pandering. You know,
Right.
like, oh, it might have been gay, I thought, but because my uncle was, and shut up, straight white guy, you're fucking pandering, you know? And then when Frankie Ocean came out, like, oh, I'm bisexual, it was like the week his album was dropping.
Right.
And it got all the, and it's like, yo, you're using the LGBT community as a you know, a marketing campaign, you know, you are. Little Nas X, on the other hand, when he came out, he already had the #1 song in the country for like 20 weeks straight. Or I don't even remember how many weeks. I don't want to, don't quote me, but it was like, say, 15 weeks straight.
Yeah.
#1 song in the country. He didn't have to. And, you know, what is real, there are, you know, the casting couch, you know, the Weinstein dilemma, but in the music business where, you know, you perform sex acts on record executives and, you know, better things can happen for you, you know? That's been happening from the beginning of the entertainment industry. Lil Nas X didn't come from that. He came from, you know, it's like a lottery ticket, not a lottery ticket. It's like, you know, this doesn't happen to everybody, but he had that melody for the Old Town Road song, which was a phenomenal melody. It was catchy. As soon as you heard it, the first time you heard it, it was stuck in your head forever. And he made that in his little fucking house with shitty equipment, and it became the biggest, longest reigning song of all time. So when people kind of discredit the kid, like, oh, he sucks, it's like, that melody isn't something that you could have wrote. And if you took 10 of the Hollywood songwriters that get paid top dollar, they wouldn't have come up with a melody like the kid did, you know, out of his house with low budget equipment. So he did it before. He didn't have to, you know, do the whole homosexual thing to be seen, you know, in the eyes of his peers. He didn't have to do that. He did it afterwards. So it feels more genuine coming out of that kid. And you know, and even the new video, you know, you know, I don't want to sound homophobic, but I don't love watching guys kissing each other. It's not, you know, it's not my favorite thing to watch, you know. But when I watched the video, it was an artistic piece because he was making a fucking statement. And, you know, if a kid feels like, hey, I'm a homosexual, I want to be with men, and everybody says, well, here's what the Bible says, this is what this says, you're going to hell, you're a sinner, you're evil, and he doesn't want to hear that. Right. Whether you agree with that or not, he doesn't want to hear that. Right. So this to me, it was a rebellious act and a fuck you to everybody that's telling him he's burning in hell, he's evil, this what he does isn't right. So that's what that was. It was a rebellious act. So I know the problem that a lot of rap peers are having is that a strong black man isn't represented, you know, to the black community often. It's not promoted. Right. You know, they don't have the era of a Chuck D or a Brand Nubian or an X-Clan or a Poor Righteous Teacher, where it's a strong black voice teaching the young boys to be strong leaders and this and that to the black community. That's the concern. And where Little Nas X takes it is he's trying to be a strong voice to the gay community, right? To say, hey, it's okay to be this, it's okay to be that. So it's a conflicting thing, you know, for a lot of people. So, and Little Nas X knew what he was doing. Yeah. And when people, this isn't art, this isn't art. But the problem with saying that is they've been saying that from the beginning of time as well. Right. When black people was, you know, doing rock guitars and dancing all crazy and, oh, the music of Satan. This is the music of Satan, satanic. It's, you know, sexual, over sexualized, like them N-words, you know, like it was think about the response to black singers in the 40s and 50s. Like Chuck Berry and stuff. Elvis. And then when Elvis, white boy Elvis came out doing it. Yeah. Elvis gets, you know, the shit end of the stick too. They act like, he wasn't that good. But no, Elvis.
He's a legend.
He was one of the best white boys of his time. When he was doing black music, he was doing his thing. You know, obviously he wasn't as great as the greatest black musicians, but he, you know, like Jackie Wilson would smoke Elvis. Right. but Elvis came on TV, you know, doing the hips. That's the famous story, shaking the pelvis.
Right.
And oh, Satan music, oh, sex, 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 you know, like he's doing that black music. So they've been doing that. They've been doing it forever. And if you want to go back to homosexuality, there was a era in Hollywood, pre-code films. It was before Hollywood and the Catholic Church stepped in, because there was a time where films started having freedom. You could kill somebody in a movie, not really kill, but you know, it could be more violent. It could be a little bit more degenerate. It could have homosexual topics, and it could have, you know, promiscuous women that didn't care and were sluts.
Right.
And then the Catholic Church stepped in, and Hollywood and everybody said, hey, we got to stop all of this from happening.
Right.
So the Catholic Church stepped in, and if they didn't like what you said, they'd condemn your film. And America was so, oh, God's gonna punish us. So if your film was condemned, it would destroy it.
Right.
So then Hollywood said, here's the code and censors stepped in and did, you know, a code. So then they took all, you know, if there was anything alluded to homosexuality or a slutty woman, whoa, you know, or somebody, a promiscuous woman, you know, or if somebody killed somebody and they didn't get punished at the end, that was, you know,
unheard of.
That wasn't allowed. So it's been going on forever where that's not art. And then go into hip hop. From the beginning of hip hop, that's not art. That's right. talking. That's talking. And all the guys from the Rolling Stones that stole everything from black music would come out and be like, yeah, rap is stealing. Rap isn't music. It's like, is your shit music? Then yes, it is. The Rolling Stones is music, but so is hip hop. You know, so everybody claims that what they feel is art, and what they don't feel is art isn't art.
Right.
But I don't know. You get sometimes, and I'm not gonna lie. I've been guilty of that, where I've thought, that's not real, that's not art. And the biggest one I'll go with is ICP, Insane Clown Posse.
Okay.
When they signed to Jive, I was like, this is a fucking atrocity to hip hop. This is they're clowns, and they're fucking. This is a joke.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. But I'd never listened to them or toured. I didn't know nothing about them. This was, you know, years ago when they were first starting. And then when I got to meet Juggalos and be on the road with them and see ICP perform live, Insane Clown Posse concert, it's a work of art.
Yeah.
And the authentic hip hop heads, they hate when I say that. They go, oh, bullshit, they're garbage. But no, I've seen tremendous lyricists and rappers do live shows that don't entertain.
Right.
You know, you go to the ICP concert, it's like a Broadway musical of white trash, insanity, and imagery.
Yeah.
So when I'm quick to say this is an art, that is an art, I've done it before. So I'm just trying to learn from my own stuff, and I go, no, Insane Clown Posse is art. You know what I mean? So, but there's many examples of that. You know, but yeah, the art of making a Drake record. I'm not a fan of Drake.
Right.
You know, but to say it's not art, you know, if I can say Cool G rap would annihilate Drake.
Yes.
Would destroy him. You know, I can say that Rakim is 100 times better than Drake was. No, Drake isn't a top fucking 50 MC of all time. I could say that and believe it. Right. But once I start going into the territory that that's not art, or that I'm above that because it's not art, then you're wrong. You know, but you can definitely, you know, talk about a quality level, like you know, and I mention this a lot. Like if I want to act like I'm some great drummer and I go on the drums, you know, and somebody acts like my drumming is better than one of the greatest drummers of all time. No, they might enjoy my drumming better because they like me and my personality and I'm drumming. But you know, if you want to be realistic, I'm not anywhere near a level of, you know, the legendary drummer that's the best on the planet. You know, there are levels to things too. So, you know, and a friend of mine made a documentary. Henenlotter made a documentary on an artist. Holy shit, Mike Diana. Okay. And it was a good documentary because it was all about that as well. It was like because he drew these really insane, fucking horrible images in comics in a zine. Mm-hmm. So they had to go to court and prove that it was art. They had to prove to a court that this is art.
Right.
And everyone's like, no, the drawings aren't up to par. They're not standard. It's grotesque. It is not art. There was an argument being made: is this man's zine art? Because if it is, he shouldn't go to jail. And then in Florida, I believe it was, they took away his right to draw. He wasn't allowed to draw for a year. It was like crazy. It's the Mike Diana doc. It's really crazy to watch.
Yo, and people don't know that level of censorship happens. I gotta ask you a question though, man, because we're talking about like the criteria art and music and that whole process. Here's a double standard. This is me saying this. This is not RA saying this. So when the trolls come from you, if you gotta get mad at someone, get mad at me. There's a double standard in hip hop I've seen. Some of the dopest MCs I've ever met who've made music that I've really enjoyed and just gotten to build with, they have been white, right? And there's this barrier that people experience, I feel, and you can tell me if this is true or not, where white MCs seem to not be allowed into certain conversations. That's the first part of my question. Have you ever felt that type of discrimination where it's like, yo, it's the white boy, or someone came at you crazy in your hip hop career, man?
No, I don't think so, because I was always, even in the 80s, I was a little kid with a high pitched voice, and I'd go into the house party, and the black community was about music as a kid. You know, it was like really about music. So when you came in, if you was nicer than the black kids in the party,
right?
Oh shit! And a lot of times, I almost felt more resentment from white people because I was the white boy doing it and I could do it, and they'd be like, oh, where black folks, if you came in there musically, they respected the music. So oh shit, that fucking kid is spitting. So I always had that. So I guess coming in the game, maybe, and even in the beginning when I signed my first deals, some of the legends, kind of were like, well, who's that? Before listening,
Right.
But once you get to listen, it kind of changed. That's why any legendary MC in history, from the beginning, from the Grandmaster Kasses to krs-ones to Rakims to Chuck D's, to name a great MC in history. They've Cool G Raps to Big Daddy Kane. They all have given me my respect and props, and many of them called me legend. Like, oh shit, you motherfuckers is calling me legend. It's crazy. So no, I never had that problem with black folks. A lot of times it was, like Twitter, like white rappers I never even commented to are blocking me. Like people hate white. Wow. It's like white on white hate. It's the weirdest shit in the world. But on the flip side of that coin is, white rappers not always, also find a following. Like I see a lot of mediocre white rappers on a bunch of lists, like my favorite rappers are, and it's naming like all these white kids, and it's like these white boys like, yeah, and they like white rappers, and you're like, ew, please take me off that corny ass list, please. I don't want to be on that weird corny white rapper guy list, So and a lot of times, when they make, white boy rapper lists, I'm not even put on those lists for some reason a lot of times. But then when they go, oh, the greatest verses and the greatest this in hip hop history, a lot of times I'm on there. So I don't know. It's I guess, like I said, when I first came in the game, the first one that hurt me, krs-one was on Jive. They signed me, and I heard feedback that, krs-one said something like, "Wow, you signing this white kid or something?" I don't know don't quote me on it because I don't want to misquote krs-one, but this was feedback I heard from the label. But everybody else was kind of giving me props. But then, so I was like, "Damn, krs-one don't fuck with me," and then I was at the Tunnel, and every record label sucked dick was leaked all over. And I saw Kenny Parker, one half of Boogie Down, or not one half, there's Scott Rock, but Boogie Down Productions, Chris Parker did a lot of the production. Was a bit, it's not Chris Parker, Kenny Parker, and he was standing there and he said, "Yo, Def Jam offered me more loot than Jive did," and he was spitting my lyrics to me. I'm like, "Oh, what up, man?" And he was like, "Yo, me and Chris drove to a show this weekend, and we had that song on, and we listened to that song for hours over and I was like, wait, krs-one?" He's like, "Yeah." So when krs-one finally got to hear the product, he okay. And then when we were doing shows together, me and Chris, it was like he'd be like, "Yo, like I was watching you, like," and I came off stage. Chris was like, "Yo, man," I was like, "Yo, I learned that from you," because krs-one had the live performance
Yeah.
VHS tape back in the day. And that was like the only live performance VHS tape of rap. So we used to watch that. And he was like, damn, he was a professional performer. So I told him, I learned all that watching you. And he was like, yo, I learned from you tonight. I was like, man, it's a story I love to tell because I was like, whoa, like, you know, because, you know, when one of the greats of all time stage performing tells you that, but you know, and especially when I was a teenager, 18 years old, hearing, oh, he didn't fuck with me too much until a couple years later. Oh shit, all right, I'm certified. So sometimes you have to earn your way up the ladder. You don't always enter the scene and, hey, it's me, I'm great, and everyone has to kiss your ass. Oh, you're good, you are good. No, they could say, I'm not impressed yet. Show me something. Who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
You know? And to be realistic, you know, a lot of vultures and cultures are white-skinned people. So I'm not saying that they, you know, the first, you know, if you've been abused many times, your first reaction to something might be like, oh, you know, are we going to be quick to let that in? You know, it's like, so, and I'm not saying all white people are vultures. Obviously, I'm a fucking white guy myself, but I'm saying historically, you know, in music, there have been a lot of, you know, the money comes in and something becomes a money oriented base, and capitalism steps in, and everybody wants to make money off of something. And, you know, all of a sudden, a lot of white faces show up.
Right.
So, you know, I understand, you know, once that happened. But the thing is, when it was the 80s, it wasn't so much rap. You know, when I was a kid, there wasn't that much money. And no one thought I was there for the money because I wasn't.
Right.
I was showing up in house parties, showing up at street corners, battling kids. Like, it was a different era. And in the 90s, okay, I started getting record deals. So, okay, now is he here for them? Who is this guy? I never heard of him yet. Is he a vulture? Is he the real deal? You know,
right.
It's understandable. And you got to pay your dues in a culture that was built off the backs of poor Black people in a community, you know? So you gotta pay your dues. And so I'm not concerned if somebody look, oh, I didn't get my due because I'm white. No, I never thought of that. You know? Oh, because I'm white, sad for me. You know?
No, but yo, you just brought up something that's crazy, man. To think about where you paid your dues to, and to get props from someone like krs-one. I've met that
all
cat.
of my idols. Every idol I ever had gave me props. It's crazy. Every one of my idols has given me props in life, except Slick Rick. I never met Slick Rick, never heard. I don't even know if he ever heard my name, but if Slick ever give me props, but every single other one ever, like every single other one ever, I was like, holy shit. You know?
How does it make you feel that you're on that list, validated?
Oh, as I got the Slick Rick shirt on.
How does it make you feel to know that you're on that validation list for up and coming artists, man? Because I know a couple of cats when this interview drops, right? They're gonna be like, yo, I hope to one day be in a situation where he hears my track, or I could be on tour with him and be able to say like, yo, this one of the greatest to ever do it co-signs to me. Or have you had that experience yet with a young artist, with a younger artist?
You get them. Like it's funny. Like, I'm looked at as the way I looked at the guys I looked up to, you know, like all of a sudden they come to me like, oh, you know, like big guys. There's a rapper, Super Lover C and Casanova Rudd, the two of them. Like, I looked up to them because they had, you know, Soup had this incredible flow, and you know, now you know you go on the internet and Casanova Rudd's on there, they're all there, you know, but like, you know, getting validation from those guys, it's like, you know, to someone else they'd want validation from the big pop name rapper, you know, Jay-Z. I'm like, fuck that, I don't care what Jay-Z think about me. Super Lover C, you know, Casanova Rudd, you know. You know, but
yo, so I don't want to monopolize much of your time. I do want to ask you a few more questions. Legends never die. Tell me about it, man. Can you speak on that and what that process was like, man?
Well, making that record, that album, my father had just passed, and I started making some, you know, the songs were sad, and you know, I don't know. So I kind of just scrapped the album and then took a different direction. You know, there's a couple songs that made it from the original Legends Never Die, but it wasn't called Legends Never Die yet. Mm. But the song with Eamon, I Still Get Through the Day. That's one of the original songs. You know, it was sad, but I said I can't have a whole weird sad. I still want it to bang. I still want to make songs for concerts, and it was, you know, a homage to my father. That's where the title came from. And hip hop and life in general. And, you know, before Legends Never Die, my Die Rugged Man Die was you know, oh, I'm the grossest, scummiest, shoot me, kill me, I hate life, fuck me, I'm nobody, I'm a loser, blah, 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 you know? And then years later, you go through your health issues and you get you mentally back, you know, you become a little bit more mental stable and you say, yeah, legends never die, you know? So it was also talking about myself, you know, Die Rugged Man, Die, legends never die. I ain't dying, I'm still here, motherfuckers. So it was a homage to my daddy, and it was also kind of an uplifting note to my own self-being, or I don't know if the English I'm saying is right, but you know what I'm saying, my own being, my own well-being. I think that's what the fuck I was trying to say. So yeah, so that's what that was. And I wanted to be a real special record. I was touring a lot at the time, so I had money coming in. So I sat with Chris Conway and we worked on the album till it was right, you know. And there was some songs on there like, you know, that me and Chris would try to, you know, 15 different mixes on, you know, let's try this instrumental, let's try this snare, let's try this hi-hat, let's try this flow instead, you know, and songs that we did in one day that came out perfect, you know, but like the songs that I didn't feel good about, I could go back and work on them and until everything felt right. And, you know, this track is great, except it just needs a little bit more drama. So then we take it out and, you know, come play some music with people. And me and Chris would sit in the studio for hours and hours arranging. And, you know, almost this was more so even on the latest album, All My Heroes Are Dead, was the songs were more scores. Like if I was telling a story or if I was going in a certain direction lyrically, we would score the lyric where okay, I want a dramatic element here, or I want some kind of musical upliftment here. Like it was almost like a motion picture score. A lot of the latest album is what I was going for. And I could have never did that if I didn't have Chris and all these great musicians with me. So I'm not saying, oh, I'm a genius, I did this whole score of the drama, but you know, what I was blessed with the latest album, All My Heroes Are Dead, is that I had really great musicians worldwide willing to work with me. And I have one of the best engineers in the world, Chris Conway, who All My Heroes Is Dead is the album that he's the most proudest that he ever did in his life, you know, and he's did everybody, every legend you could name, he's done them all. Every big giant artist in hip hop, you name them, he did them all. And All My Heroes Is Dead, he feels is like his masterpiece. And, you know, I'm honored that he thinks that. And it's the record I'm most proud of. So, yeah, I can't wait to tour on it. But you wanted to ask me about Legends Never Die.
Wait, hold that thought for a second, though, because that's good, man. Because I could tell that you are, and that someone alluded to this for me. When you listen to the latest album, man, and you talk about scoring, and it's like your requiem, right? This is it's a statement album, man, and it is really beautiful. What are the influences behind that? Like, what's the mind space? How did you come to that place? I'm not asking the question correctly, but when you do hear it and the way you just described it, it does seem like this is like the quintessential album for you, man. Like you're in like a different place mentally, spiritually, and it come across that way. How did we get there though?
It took time, you know. People complain that my albums take too long to make, but the problem is I almost thought about doing one of these new school albums where I sit in the studio for 2 weeks with a producer and he puts up beats and I rap on 8 beats and we mix it and put it out and that's it, you know. Right. But I don't want to do that. I really don't want to do it because I don't want to go digress, you know, into something. You know, I really like being competitive, and when I'm dead and gone, people, wow, this is some outstanding, artistic, beautiful music. That's what I'm trying to do. If somebody doesn't get that off my album, fuck it. You know, that is what it is. But I think a lot of people have. A lot of people saw my vision on this record. So it's tough because, if something feels standard or ordinary, I want to beef it up. I want to make it bigger. I want to make it sound like something that you could put it on next to any record in history and it's right there with it, you know? And I'm not saying I achieved that, but that's what I go for. And if I go to a lesser degree where we two track some beats and I rap really good over 8 songs and then I release it and that's my new album, I could do 5 albums a year if I do that. Rapping, you know, what, 8 verses, say 16 verses, 16 verses. I could do that this week. I'll put out an album tomorrow. But I just, I don't put out a lot of material, and I'm a touring artist.
Right.
So before this Corona shit, that's why I make my albums, is to be a touring artist. So when you listen to Legends Never Die or All My Heroes Are Dead, a lot of these songs are call and response. Some of them are mosh pit. Some of them are emotional, pull strings to get the crowd singing and you know, hugging and feeling something together.
Right.
Some of them are ready for like, oh, let's start this one and mosh and punch and kick shit. One might be over sexual lyric where you can make fucked up jokes and make the crowd laugh and you know, I try to put a little piece of everything into the albums. So for the live show, so when I perform the albums live and the songs off the album live, I could do that for decades to come, you know, because I'm still performing songs I wrote, you know, when I was 18 years old. Today, people go, oh, do that one, do that. You know, I did a show. There was a live band that wanted me to come. They do like a live hip hop thing in Sweden,
right.
And all live musicians, and they pay an artist to come out and do 4 or 5 tracks that they replay musically with a live band. And I never did a live band thing, but they were like, I'm like, what songs do you want me to do? And they, like, 2 of them was from, one of them was from like 28 years ago. And I didn't know the lyrics from the fucking thing either. What the fuck are the lyrics from that one? Okay, let me try. So like, you know, all of a sudden I'm in the middle of fucking Sweden doing a live show to a song I made when I was a kid. You know, all these decades later, I'm performing, you know, with a live band, making it like, what the fuck is this? Is this my life even? How the fuck is this song even? How the fuck do people still give a fuck about it? But I guess that's when you put your heart into shit and you try hard to make something good and quality, maybe sometimes it pays off like that. People appreciate it over the world, you know? So
are you one of those cats where it's hard for you to receive that, like if someone tells you that album's a classic, how do you receive that information? Like, or do you just kind of go, thanks for sharing?
You know what's funny is because, you know, I don't have the tools of the other artists. You know, I don't have the big PR campaigns. I don't have, if I drop a video, I don't have 30,000 of Google ads to push it. I don't, you know, I don't have all of the tools. You know, I don't have a publicist that has the balls to take on some shit that could get them canceled, you know, like I just, you know, so if people come up to me, oh, you're great, you're my idol, oh, this, that, I kind of feel awkward when they're talking about me, you know, to me, oh, you, and I'm, but, you know, I'm glad they feel that way, and I'll hug them, oh, hey, thank you, sir. But when they compliment the albums, it's like I put so much work and time and love and you know, the last album destroyed my family. Like I was trying to get that album done with raising the 2 kids, me and the baby mother. You know, I needed more time to get this done, and we just, you know, she, you know, didn't have time for her psychologically or whatever. We, you know, I wasn't giving her enough of myself mentally because I was always consumed with trying to make this fucking thing, and you know, so I put so much into these albums. When someone's like, this album is a masterpiece, this album is a classic, I take that in and I feel good. Oh, like I don't feel awkward about that. I'm like, that's really what I wanted to hear, man. Like if they say I'm a great rapper, who gives a fuck? People have been telling me I was a good rapper since I'm fucking no hair on my dick, you know? So, but like when I worked and put everything into these albums, and also all my time and money and effort and touring and in the music videos, it all goes back into the records. Where we're in an era now where people don't want, you know, they want more content. You know, the quality over quantity type of thing or whatever. They want quantity over quality. So a lot of my peers are making a lot more money than me because they're not trying to make one album that's gonna be this classic thing. They want it. They're like, yo, let's put out 3 albums a year. Let's shoot videos for no money. Boom, 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 off to the next product. And they keep making money because they're spending so little and so little time on all of the shit.
Yeah.
That that they're winning.
Yeah.
With me, I'm like obsessing over shit. And it hurts you because I could be doing, like I said, the 3 albums a year by just rapping over 8 beats, do an album a week that way. If you really want to do an album, I could do an album a week. Not an album a week, 16 quality verses. I don't know if I could do 16. I could definitely do, but 2 weeks, 8 songs, 16 quality verses. That's easy. Say a verse a day.
Yeah.
2 weeks, maybe one day you write 2-3 verses. So, yeah,
it's crazy because you just used a phrase there that I'm talking as an outsider, but I'll be that cat to tell you that the album is legendary and it's classic. And when I was doing my research for the interview, man, I had to kind of sit back at the new album and the previous album, all the albums. I had to kind of sit back and I'm listening to your artistic journey. I'm about to get real bohemian on you right now, so excuse me. Listening to it, it's clear, man, that there's something more going on there than just a product. And I know that that's the thing to do nowadays. Get the product out. It's almost like they're slinging dope. It's like, get it out there, get it on the streets, and let's move on to the next thing. But you're really producing and making art, man. And it's I gotta say this as a fan first and foremost, man. It's the type of stuff where it's like when my son is of age, if he gets into hip hop, I want him to be like, yo, just sit down for a second. Just turn that off. It's giving your dad a seizure. And let's go through this chronologically and listen to what it sounds like when someone actually contributes to their catalog. You have a body of work that I hope you receive this, man. Like, it's a catalog that extremely impressive. One last question before I let you go.
Just when you play the song for your son, skip over "Love to Fuck with Eamon," skip over the Big Snatch. There's a couple of them.
Those would be for the talk, and be like, all right, so listen, this is
that song. Shut that the fuck off. Hate speech. Shut that one off.
Yeah, let me ask you a question, man. We were talking about your top 10, are you in your own top 10?
Well, I think longevity and consistency, for me, I feel like I am, but most rappers feel that way, but I feel like year after year, I'm competitive with all the greatest of all time, like I do put myself up on a top, but, I don't know if I could take that because, think about how many greats in history that contributed so far. Yeah, I mean, so much. Like, as long as my longevity is, can I put myself up there with a Melly Mel? No. As long as my longevity is, Cool G Rap. When I was a 11-year-old kid trying to do it, he was out there changing flows and patterns and the way people approached. It's skill wise and content wise and longevity wise, I really think I've been competitive with the best for so many decades. I really put myself there, but I just don't know. Like LL Cool J, when he came out at 16 years old, and there's clips of him, audio of him coming Jam Master Jay on the turntables and him just rocking the mic for 7 minutes straight in an era where that shit didn't, so, or even if we're not talking lyrical, a guy like Dougie Fresh that's been, wow. If you want to go lyrical, you're not going to go Dougie, but as far as the world's greatest entertainer, which is his title.
Yeah.
And when Dougie goes on a stage, he's been doing it, one of the best stage performers for decades and decades and decades of hip hop. So, and there's countless others, so we didn't even go into Rakim yet, or what I mean, or when Chuck came out, Fight the Power in 1989, when it was needed. So, the contributions are so heavy, like, and Chuck will say it himself. Yeah, there's a lot of rappers that are technically on a technical side, like on a technical side, Tech Nine is better than Chuck D on a technical side, right. And not just Tech Nine, you can name Locksmith, or not, you don't even got to name the best because Chuck's art isn't the technical side.
Right.
Chuck's, so a lot of us can out technical Chuck D, but whose voice in history of hip hop is stronger? And when those words are spoken, leave a harder, more effective imprint than Chuck D. He doesn't need technical. Oh, I'm technical. You know, it's a kind of like a guitar melody where somebody Yngwie Malmsteen could go crazy, but then you get the guy that could come up with that smooth melody that forever infects your mind and spreads a message to its people. So, you know, there's just so much greatness in this culture. Or we could go back before records, you know, like you know, you go to the Cold Crush Brothers and Grandmaster Caz. Or if we want to go to pop rap, let's go to pop rap. Curtis Blow wasn't the best rapper of his time.
Right.
Well, he was making records. He taught the Fat Boys how to make records. He knew how to make records. He was a producer. He was an entertainer. And now let's take who's like a highly respected flow master.
I mean, you look at
name one. Just name a highly respected flow master of the last 20 years. Just name one.
Tuna Fish from J5.
Okay, so Tuna from J5.
Yeah.
Are we really gonna rank him higher than Curtis Blow because his skill is higher? No.
No, right.
Curtis Blow's, you know, vocal performance, his ability to make records. Is he the greatest lyrical bar slaughter of all time? No. But has anybody made greater records or greater impact in national television in the first world tours in history and the first gold selling, you know, all his firsts that he's done,
right?
That none of these guys would exist, myself included and Tuna included. So when you say, are you top 10 ever? Kool Moe Dee. What about Kool Moe Dee? People, people remember him from when he was like, you know.
They remember that Wild Wild West song.
Yeah, when he Wild West, he did the simplified, dumbed down lyrics, which were his biggest hits.
Yeah,
you know, the Teddy Riley, Go See the Doctor. He hated it because he wasn't going ultra lyrical in the pocket, crazy the way Kool Moe Dee did it.
Right.
All those fast flow rappers. The first one was the Treacherous Three and Moe Dee doing the fast flow shit. You know, constant. You know.
Right.
So all of us, you go me, Tech Nine, all of these guys, or before that, Fushnikins and you know, Kool Moe Dee. And think about, people don't understand, this was before the internet, so nobody had longevity at the time because you had to make something to cater to your record label or they wouldn't push you, and there was no social media. You couldn't press a button and show the world you existed. You had to make the exact records the record label wanted or they wouldn't put money behind you.
Right.
So nobody had longevity in that era. It didn't exist in that era. You had 1 or 2 albums, then the label move on to the next trendy thing that was hip hop, you know? That's what it was, period. Moe Dee was the only rapper that was like relevant in the 70s, destroying rappers in the 70s, like the Godfather battle rap, you know, in the 80s. And then in the 80s, he came out making hit records after the Treacherous Three, hit records, hit rhymes, battle rhymes, hit rhymes. And then he lasted to the 90s. He was doing stuff, you know, with Chuck D and KRS-One and a Pro Black album in 1990. And so he was the only one to do the 70s, 80s, and 90s and still be like a relevant force. You know, you have people like Melly Mel that was there, but like, no, Moe Dee was still like really
doing it.
Yeah. And Melly Mel too, because he had in the 80s, he had Shaka Khan record and, you know, all his biggest hits in the 80s, you know, White Lines and The Message. But then by the time he did a song for Police Academy 4, I think it was like, What's the Matter with This World? Or one of those. And it was dope, but it wasn't like, Moe Dee was still kind of, you know, he'd go on Arsenio Hall and obliterate the whole showcase. So his longevity was unparalleled at the time to be relevant for that, you know, much. So I mean, I could go on and on about so many lyricists and great hip hoppers in the culture. So to put myself on the top 10, I don't feel right about that, you know. But I'm on like a lot of the top 10 lists that I see online.
Yeah,
I'm definitely on that top 10.
you
And
most
when people say, "Oh, this is my top 10," and they got all these fucking rappers, I'm like, I'll destroy that rapper. If that's the top 10,
yeah.
yes, I'm on the motherfucking top 5, top 3, top 1. You know, like I'll obliterate all your bullshit top 10s. But yeah.
Yo, you know what's crazy though? Actually, I do want to go into this a little bit because I wanted to ask this question. You're a touring man. You're known as an MC who's a touring man, and that always I've heard from other MCs that in the early days was a way to kind of throw up a middle finger to the record label that was trying to screw people over. Like you didn't recoup for them and the album, but you can make your money doing tours. Do you think that
it wasn't a fuck you? What it was that was why you accepted the shitty deal that the label got.
Okay.
It was almost like, hey, we're in bed together. I'm not going to recoup. You're going to make all the money off the record, and then I'm going to make tons of money touring.
Right.
Because you put all that money behind me to blow up the product. Now I'm going to go touring. That's why sometimes I have a problem when I see people, oh, this label owns my catalog. Free me from free me from this. You know, it's like, yo, but here's the thing. You read the contract. You had a high-powered lawyer read the contract. And we signed it. We all did. We signed it. And we agreed to it. And we were grown fucking men or grown women or whoever. And some of these artists were the ones that the labels actually did right, that they actually promoted and they put tons of money behind and they spent, years pushing and promoting and getting them out there. And then I see them come on the internet and go, well, they own my catalog, fuck. But you just toured for 15 years off of all the money they spent promoting you. And the reason you were getting, 20,000 a show, 50,000 a show, this, whatever the fuck amount is because the money that they put behind you pushing that product. So there's a lot of artists. Like a major label will sign 20 artists just so they have it in case they start popping and this and that. And a lot of them just get shelved or thrown to the side and this and that. So, and don't get the proper marketing and this and that. So there's so many sides to it. It's way more advanced than this simple little shit that I'm talking, but, because obviously there's 100 times over where you'll find the label in the wrong, but I just think sometimes when they think, oh, touring is the fuck you to, like, no, touring is, the label's fine with you doing it, but now obviously they're not anymore because now the music industry's dead. Because back in the day, you could come out and sell 500,000 records, the label would make millions of dollars.
Right.
Now record sales don't exist, so if they sign you and put the money behind you, they get a piece of your touring. They get a piece of that.
How's that transition been for you, man? With the way everything works now, with the streaming, with everything, the amount that artists get or the lack of the amount they get with the clicks. I'm still not entirely sure how that math works.
Well, that's I'm a little bit old school dinosaur ignorant on that because I was used to making the majority of my money touring. Right. So now, which was stupid. You're supposed to be able to generate money when you're not working as well. That's the plan. That's how people get rich is by making money while you're sleeping, and I never learned that. I learned, hey, go on tour nonstop and sell your merch and get paid every night. And your work ethic will, buy your family a beautiful house on the water. Okay, cool. That's what I learned. But that's not the game anymore because now tours aren't happening.
Right.
So, you have to learn how to make money from not touring, So.
How's it been in the house touring? How have these COVID times not touring been? How's it been for you, man, being stuck inside?
Life sucks. Life fucking sucks. I made that album, All My Heroes Are Dead. I made it as a album to tour off of, and I put all my money into these videos and wanted to make something really impressive for people to want to go to the live shows.
Right.
And now when I drop stuff, it's like, yeah, so what? If 1 million people watch it, then what do I do?
Right.
Usually if I put out a new video, 1 million people watch it, then, show, let's do some shows off of it. Now it's like, okay, people watch the video. Go sit in the corner,
It's crazy to think too, man, because we're in a place where nobody knows what's going to happen. But, man, I'm telling you folks right now, man, do yourself a favor. Go Google this man's album catalog. Download it for yourself. Sit down with your kids. Enjoy the songs. Listen to the track with him and Akinyele. It'll enrich your life, man. It really will change your life. Yo, man, I want to thank you for coming on, man, and giving us a part of yourself, man. This show, when I started this whole thing, this was literally a hope to give people the faces and the mentalities and just a chance to get to know the people that they enjoy consuming their content. This was a big one for me, and I appreciate you like just dropping knowledge on us, man. You want to promote anything? Give any shout outs before we sign off?
Yeah, so Golden Oldies is coming out. The album All My Heroes Is Dead is out now. And that's the main focus right now. All My Heroes Is Dead. I have a tour coming up in May. You can check my tour dates on my social medias, Ari the Rugged Man, whatever. Just Google the shit, it'll come up. And I'm touring, like I said, like Texas and Florida and I don't know, a bunch of 16 shows the guy got me. So we'll see how they go. Florida, Alabama, Ohio, shit like that. Yeah.
I hope that on my bucket list, man, I can finally make it to one of your shows, man. Yo, for real, man. Thank you for coming on.
It's all good. Have a good one, all right? Thanks for having me.
Peace out.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, man.